Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the American Bar Association Antitrust Law Section Law Student Spotlight, highlighting the section's young lawyers and rising law students. My name is Yajing Jiang, and I'm a Young Economist Representative for the Antitrust Law Section. And today we have Gabriel Souto, the International Coordinator of the section's Law Student Ambassador Program. Gabriel is currently also a visiting student at Antonin Scalia Law School of George Mason University. One of his papers also won a second place in the IBRAC-TIM 2018 award. So without further ado, let's get started. Gabriel, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you firstly got interested in antitrust law.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Souto. I am 22 years old, and I'm the International Coordinator of the ABA Antitrust Section Law Student Ambassador Program. Before becoming coordinator, I was a mentee and a law student ambassador of the program. In addition to this, I'm a founding member of the Brazilian Institute of Public Policy and Internet, a Brazilian think tank specialized on regulation studies of internet. LAPIN allowed me to develop the fundamentals to be a researcher. So alongside the group, I sparked an interest in digital platform regulations and also developed my own research on antitrust law. After that, I was invited to be an exchange student at the CADE, the Brazilian Antitrust Authority program. And thanks to it, I was approved to participate in a visiting student program at the Antonin Scalia Law School, in which I took part in JD and LLM classes related to antitrust law, economics, and the US legal system.
Great. So let's dive a little deeper in the realm of antitrust laws. What areas or industries, sectors, or topics have been most interesting to you in the recent years?
Well, since I started in network engineering at the University of Brasilia, I have always wanted to associate law with technology. So while at the university in 2017, I participated in the UN's Internet Governance Forum in Geneva, where I was able to broaden my international perspective on the policymaking of digital technologies, and later associated this with my knowledge with antitrust. The topic that interests me the most in antitrust law are those involving technology. So I also like to relate antitrust with intellectual property and consumer protection. These the industries that interest me the most are the ones associated with information and communications technology.
I see. That's quite interesting about your background of majoring in network engineering, but also like stepped into this antitrust law realm. So I know that you have drafted a few pieces of work on the data portability issues, meaning the ability for internet users to port their personal data from one digital platform to another. So could you please tell us a little bit more about your work on this issue between digital platforms, and briefly, what are your papers mainly about?
Of course, since 2018, I've been researching how data portability can affect digital platforms. So I analyze how switching costs, lock-in effect, network effects can impact the digital ecosystem without an interoperability infrastructure such as API and efficient standardization process. I had the opportunity to publish three papers in the ABA. The first one was in 2019 about how data portability can affect M&A transactions. So analyze through all the M&A phases how we can take a serious approach on data portability. And in 2020, I published two. One is related to the standardization of Internet of Things, and how we can take some approaches under competition law. And the last one was about the payment processor cybersecurity. as a risk management practice under the Section 5 of the FTC Act.
I see. That sounds all interesting. And I know, at least in one of your papers, you sort of went through the landmark cases in Brazil and in the US on this issue. So what do you think are the most interesting developments in the areas about data portability in the digital space in Brazil?
I believe the most interesting developments that took place in Brazil regarding data portability were the adoption of concepts of American scholars such as Carl Shapiro, Hal Varian, and David Evans, and also the methodology for analyzing and the competitive conduct by CADE, the Brazilian Antitrust Authority. So, for example, it's worth highlighting two cases. One that took place in 2019 about Microsoft versus Google Ads. It was an investigation that initiated in 2013 when Microsoft accused Google of possible abuse of dominant position through its Google AdWords API terms and conditions. So CADE, after reviewing 106 Google AdWords customers, they concluded that there were no evidence that the terms and conditions clauses hindered multi-homing and there were no anti-competitive effects. The last one took place in 2020 about Bradesco versus Guiabolso. Guiabolso is an open banking startup. It was an investigation of alleged abuse of dominant position and refusal to contract by Bradesco. CADE approved the cease and desist agreement, which solves the identified problems, is in favor of Guiabolso on the data portability of the bank customers, the startup bank customers, that so expressly desired to request it. And also, only two relevant cases are dealing with concepts of data portability. It is possible to know that CADE usually performs very well regarding the concepts of lock-in effect and switch costing when analyzing to determine whether the investigation produces anti-competitive effects.
Great. Yeah, so speaking of cross-jurisdictional comparison, we now know that CADE recently appointed a new president, and given the fact that the FTC and soonish the DOJ antitrust divisions are also having new heads, I'm also interested in hearing on your thoughts on how that will shift the Brazilian and US antitrust authorities' focus on certain industries over the others.
Well, of course, I believe that approved moves in the US antitrust policy are expected with Jonathan Kenner at the DOJ Antitrust Division and also Lena Ken appointed to the FTC chair. The antitrust ripster movement will gain strength and the big techs will have difficult times in these administrations. In Brazil, the new CADE's president, Alexandre Cordeiro, tends to take a conservative approach and is against an aggressive antitrust policy. So we expected that the big techs and other industries will not suffer from the change of leadership in Brazil as what will happen in the US.
I see, interesting. And I'm sure you'll continue monitoring the developments and what it's gonna like in the future, given the new appointments. So let's shift gear a little bit and talk about your involvement with the section. First, tell us about your work with the ABA as a law student ambassador and how did you first get involved?
Well, that's very curious. In 2018, I was informed by an Antonin Scalia Law School mailing list that the ABA had launched a new program for law students. So I was very interested and I applied. And after being approved, I was mentored by an antitrust lawyer until in 2019, I became a law student ambassador for the program.
I see. So it stresses the importance of keeping an eye on the mailing list in your mailbox. So it's been a few years since 2018 when you first got involved. And what types of projects have you worked on since then?
Well, during 2019 and 2020, I assisted members of the ABA section of Antitrust Law with academic research and also develop my previously mentioned articles. So I also helped edit the Joint Conduct Committee newsletter before becoming now an international coordinator of the Law Student Ambassador Program.
I see. So next question is, if you have to pick one thing, what has been your favorite part about working as a law student ambassador?
Definitely writing highly specific articles with the support of lawyers and academics who experience antitrust in practice. So I also learn a lot from each committee meeting, which I can attend as a law student ambassador.
I see. And it definitely shows that you're interested in writing, right? Given that you wrote a few pieces in ABA in the past few years. So my last question is, what advice would you have for international law students who are also interested in antitrust law, but not so sure about where to start?
The main advice I will give is show interest. Be proactive and chase opportunities to engage in activities of each committee of the ABA section of Antitrust Law. I definitely can say that is a life-changing opportunity.
I see. Well, yeah, thanks, Gabriel, for taking the time to talk to me and sit in the Spotlight interview series. And I hope best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.